Welcome to the MoChill Zone. Tonight we have another great show for you. Motz and Chilly sit down with their friend Brendan Davis and discuss his life, his experience, and his passion for guitar playing and music. If you were listening last week, Motz and Chilly shared two of Brendan's original songs, Don't Be Crazy and These Streets Breathe. So stay tuned until the end to find out where you can hear more songs by Brendan Davis. As always, if you miss any of our previous episodes, please visit us on Instagram and Facebook for the online release dates of those episodes.
Welcome to the MoChill Zone with your boy and Motz. And today we have a very special guest. And I'm going to let Michael introduce him because he's a long-time friend.
Yeah, long-time friend, Mr. Brendan Davis, guitar player extraordinaire. I worked with him on Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, and it was a riot.
Absolutely.
I remember just like when I think of that, I think of REM, thanks to you.
And it's so funny you say that because I remember telling everybody, I was like, we are making memories.
Yeah.
You know, and somebody else said that too. I think it was Mariana. She said that she was driving down the road, you know, and heard the end of the world. You know, and she's like, I'm just yelling it out out my car window. I was like, that's very cool.
I gotta admit, I never really got those lyrics down. There's so much.
Yes, there is. That's great. It starts.
Yeah. He's an MC. He's a rapper too.
100%. Absolutely.
Have you heard that song, Larry? It's the end of the world.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I have a hurricane. Listen to yourself burn.
Yeah. So we were doing this musical that was just like, it was like a concert with a play in front of it. It's really how it was set up. Like the band was on risers. We were just a rock band, right?
Wow.
So instead, they do this stuff in musical theater where everybody they'll just do the songs over and over and over again until you get to the end of the play and everybody hates it.
Yeah.
You know, you've been doing it for 5 weeks at that point.
Definitely.
Right? So I kind of said, you know what, screw that. What we're going to do is I'm going to pick some songs that just get people in the mood.
That's awesome.
To do this. So like we would do Give Me Shelter by the Stones.
Jen would sing that. That was awesome.
Oh my God. Girl Has Pipes.
So
we would do The End of the World, as you know, and it was just like that music that would get everybody bobbing up and down.
Get them charged.
And we'd be serving drinks. The cast would be serving drinks at the same time.
Yeah.
And our flurry collars, or Prince collars.
Flurry or furry?
Flurry. Yeah, not furry.
Yeah.
Furry something else.
Okay.
Right.
Well, this is a family show, so.
Yeah. No, I was way more into getting people into the mood than I was making sure everything was perfect, because if we had the mood right, like everything just went stellar.
Wow.
You know, if that makes sense.
Yes, I definitely know what you mean.
That show is all mood, really.
Yes.
Yeah, it's punk.
It's
right.
It was just a big long punk rock show that was, but also it's like when you do what is that, Spring Awakening?
Oh yeah.
You know, and you look at the song titles and you're like, The Bitch of Living and everything, and you look at them and you're like, seriously, and then you go and you play them. They're like very articulate, intelligent songs that aren't that easy to play either. By the way.
Yeah.
A quick question.
Yeah.
I want to know, who gave you inspiration to get you inspired to do what you're doing? Who gave you your inspiration? Who inspired you to really get you to do what you're doing?
Where did it all start?
Where did it all start?
Where did it all start? In high school. So I grew up, I had the weirdest upbringing ever, okay? So we'll start with that. I had a bluegrass guitar player from Queens, New York for a dad.
Well, Queens bluegrass.
Shout out Queens.
You think bluegrass, you think Queens.
Right? That's right. I was like, where did Johnny Cash come from in your life? Okay.
Did he open CBGB? That's what they were looking for.
And then I had a mezzo-soprano opera singer that graduated from Juilliard for a mom.
Wow.
That worked down at City Center and stuff. So, you know, on one side of the house, you had the New York opera scene, and on the other side of the house, you had all these guys with banjos and bluegrass guitars. Wow, and in the middle was the fireplace. And on the mantle were the bottles of wine and vodka and everything. And the emptier those got, the more those two groups of people came together.
That's awesome, man.
You know,
Aria with some bluegrass picking.
Absolutely. You know, like my mom would just break out singing Plaisir d'Amour, like in the middle, and you'd hear like people playing mandolins and stuff. So
that's awesome, man.
And then when I got into high school and I started playing guitar, I started playing when I was about 16.
Me too. Nice.
And for some reason, I just gravitated to really hard progressive music. I loved Frank Zappa.
Okay.
I loved Yes,
Okay.
Rush.
Yeah.
Right, and it was like, so I progressed very quickly just because the damn music was so hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Right,
I like Green Day and Blink-182.
the transition of all that, it's different because the artists are always just named, but like they're different.
Yes.
That's awesome. You know,
absolutely.
Diversity.
You know,
very eclectic.
Challenging.
You know what I'm saying?
Challenging.
Eclectic.
Yeah, very eclectic.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who listened to Frank Zappa would be like, "Oh, Chic Ya Booty and Tinseltown Rebellion," and that's just stupid. I'm like, have you ever tried to play any of it? There's a reason there are no Frank Zappa tribute bands. There's a really good reason for that.
Steve Vai's maybe the only guy that could do it.
Yeah, it's not very easy.
No, it's very, very difficult.
Just hearing him talk about like how he cut his teeth in Frank Zappa's band, it's just wild. Like how Frank was just like, here, take this, transcribe this. Like, you imagine trying to transcribe that.
Right, Peaches and Regalia, and you're like, this is due in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, you're just and that's there's no speed tape, there's no slowing things down. You know, he's listening to it and trying to pick it out and then write it out.
Crazy.
And things. But one of the things that I learned from that, I used to read all the guitar player magazines and stuff like that. Sure. And Steve Vai made a very, very good comment in one of those guitar player magazines when I was a teenager. And he said, if you learn to transcribe music and you learn to read and write music, then your limitation is your imagination. Mm-hmm. And I can actually write down things I can't play and then have to go learn to play them. Wow. As opposed to if all I did was play the guitar, then my physicality on the guitar is the limitation of the composition.
Gotcha.
Can't tap it out.
Right? You know,
true.
Absolutely. You know.
I'm a very slow reader. I can read, but I can't sight read.
No, none of us can.
For sure.
And by the way, I think sight reading is a misnomer. I really do.
Okay.
What it is pattern recognition.
Yep.
Okay. If you are reading music and you come across something you've never seen before, I don't give a crap. If you're Miles Davis, you are going to crash and burn. Or we also know people who just come across things that they've never seen before and they just make some up, which is cool too. You know, that
own little style.
That's my
style. You know, they're like, there's no way I'm going to play that. I'll play this.
The blues world.
But yeah, it's going through. So, you know, when you look at trumpet players and clarinet players and all these people that can just pick up anything inside, it's just like us reading a book. You just recognize the words. If you come across a word you've never seen before, you're like, hey, man.
It's like a word is like a lick, essentially.
Yes.
Like, you see the lick.
Absolutely. I see.
For sure.
So I take it like you're trying to follow Eddie Van Halen and you're trying to do just like what he did, but like, I don't think I can do exactly like that. Let me go do something a little different than that. Yeah.
So it's funny you should say that because all the guitar players that I mentioned, right? I can probably count on one hand how many guitar solos I ever learned note for note. Okay.
Yeah.
I would. First of all, I learned very. Aside a story. The first professional band I ever worked in, like where I was getting paid, you know, a couple $100 a week, and we were playing 4 or 5 nights a week. Awesome. So we wanted to do some Bon Jovi song, and everybody in the band was older than me. I was in my early 20s, and I went into practice, and I was like, "Can we put that off till next week? Because I haven't learned the guitar solo yet." And the keyboard player laughed at me, and he goes, "I'm sorry. You think anybody really gives what you play in those 16 measures?" And he made us sing choruses. Like half of band practice, we'd be over at the piano just singing choruses. Like we nailed our vocals all the time. You know, and
like
you can nail a guitar solo, and everybody's like, there's two guys in the club that are like, yeah, he nailed that. You screw up a chorus, and everybody in the club goes, what?
Yeah.
They will. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know. Trust me, I know.
Yeah. So it's like the way I have learned, not all of, but a lot of Steve Vai's melodies, Joe Satriani, Alex Lifeson, all these, like their melodies, they're beautiful. But when it comes to a guitar solo, all I'm gonna do is be a version of Joe Satriani.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's the only one.
Okay.
That's the best you can do.
But if I get the
that's not bad though. That's not bad. Wait, that's not bad at all. So I mean,
right. So I would rather be the best version of Brendan than a crappy version of Steve Vai.
Right.
You
I
know,
like that.
that's
So would you advise for a beginning guitar player, or let's say, I guess not beginning, but intermediate at this point, would you advise not transcribing full solos? Would you just like say like hear a lick that you want, that you like, and focus on that lick as opposed to transcribing like a full solo?
So weird answer. Okay. John Mayer put it the best when he was talking about slow dancing in a burning room. Okay, beautiful.
The new Smoke on the Water.
Oh my lord. So the whole thing's in C minor.
Yeah.
E flat major, it's in C minor.
Yeah.
And he said, so you can sit and you can learn this lick. Or you can learn some of the licks that I learned to write this lick. And then you can learn some, because we all just borrow from, you know.
Sure, everyone borrows from everybody.
Absolutely. Stevie
care what
Ray
anybody
Vaughan
says,
was borrowing from Jimi Hendrix.
Absolutely.
Jimi Hendrix was borrowing from Albert King and Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
Chuck Berry was, you know.
Probably Mom's Maybelline or something like that.
It's Louis Jordan.
No.
He's a Louis Jordan. It's a sexist song, so I apologize, but it's like, it's called Ain't That Just Like Woman, and it is Johnny B. Good 10 years before.
Okay.
It's exactly the same, with more swing to it. It's not as like straight.
Yeah.
It's not like that like polyrhythm grind.
Okay.
Because Chuck Berry straightened out the
Yes, he did.
And like the band kept swinging, which was like, that, I think that's the genius of Chuck Berry, was that, because that riff is the same.
Oh, well,
It's crazy.
I used to tell my guitar students, I was like, there's 4 guitar players. There's 400 billion of us. But there's Chuck Berry invented the guitar solo. That we know today. In the middle of the song, after the second chorus, the guitar solo is going to come. It's going to be 16 bars long, you know.
Yeah.
That's a dude. Jimi Hendrix sent everybody down into their basement going, how the hell did he do that? How does he do that? Right? Jimmy Page came along and reinvented the way we record the guitar. Even Hendrix, right? He would play through the entire track back to front, and if there was an overdub, it was the rhythm guitars behind the solo. But it was just a guitar track. And Jimmy Page came along and he's like, yeah, but this thing has 24 different buttons on it, like, what, you know. And he invented the guitar army, right? Where Stairway to Heaven has 16 guitar tracks.
Awesome track.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, and all these things. And
That's
then,
one of the ones I actually learned note for note.
Yeah. And then Eddie Van Halen came along and sent everybody right back down to their basement. You know, going, how the hell did he do that? You know,
Spaceship sounds.
Like, and for me, I would rather listen to Jeff Beck than Jimmy Page. But take Jimmy Page out of music, and it's not like.
I saw Jeff Beck at the Masonic, actually, where we just were last night.
Really?
Jeff Beck with Buddy Guy opened up for him, and Buddy brought out Santana. It was so cool, man.
Did you like get a time machine and go back to 1967? Wow.
It was unreal, man.
Yeah.
And you know, rest in peace, Jeff Beck.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Well, he was a treasure. Like just like that slurry articulation that he had with the whammy.
Yeah.
So cool.
just microtones that didn't sound out of tune. You know, it's like that's the only guy that can do that.
For sure.
John Bon Jovi tells a great story when Jeff Beck played on Blaze of Glory.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Beck played the guitar solo on that.
Okay.
He had his guitar shipped out beforehand, so they got there a couple days before they were tracking.
Okay.
That's cool.
And the Telecaster, the blonde Telecaster, and John Bon Jovi's like, and we're all just there. We opened the case and they're all just standing there like, He's got French tongue.
Was it Richie Sambora or what? Is that his normal guitar? Richie?
Yeah. That was at the time.
Was he like
yes.
just like?
Oh my God. I couldn't even imagine it.
There was a great story I saw on, I think it was one of the talk shows. Well, I know it was, but I forget which one it was. It was Keith Richards talking about how he was backstage with Chuck Berry's 335.
Oh, I haven't heard this.
And he was like, I can't, the cherry red. You know? He gets it out and starts playing it, and Chuck comes back in the room, and he's pissed. Puts the guitar back in the case and punches him in the nose.
Oh no! Oh my Lord!
It's just great, like that.
On a lighter note, Nuno Bettencourt tells a story about getting to play Eddie Van Halen's Frankenstrap.
Oh yeah, nice.
You know, he gets to play the red Frankenstrap.
Wow,
he's so stoked. He's like, I'm gonna sound like Eddie Van Halen. And he's like, I sounded like Nuno Bettencourt playing Eddie Van Halen's guitar.
For sure.
And I think that's the way we all are. You know, I pick up a guitar. If I had to borrow a guitar for a show, I'd walk up to any amp, I'd pick up the guitar, I'd make a few adjustments. Maybe I'd lower the action a little bit or raise it a little bit before we started and get the amp, but it's still, I'm gonna make your rig sound like me.
Touches, the tone is in the fingers, as they say. Yep.
Absolutely.
So I always ask, be it whatever profession we have on, we've had a lot of MCs on, rappers, so I like to ask, who's your Mount Rushmore? Top 4 MCs. But for us, I gotta ask, who's your top 4?
Okay,
Who's your Mount Rushmore guitars?
So we'll start off with the MCs.
Okay, yeah, if you want to do the MC, please. Go
Okay.
for the MCs, for sure.
Who invented the crossfader?
I mean, Cool Herc and
Grandmaster
Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, he was, But the other thing that I absolutely loved about that era in New York was, remember when Grandmaster Flash came out, it was the Reagan 80s. Everything's great. Oh, it's all perfect and New America and everything like that. And Grandmaster Flash went and cut a freaking video, which nobody was doing yet, and walking through Harlem going, by the way, everything's not as cool as you think it is. That's,
Right.
So we got DJs. Are we going DJs so we can go Grandmaster Flash?
Oh, yeah.
We got Africa Bambaataa. I mean, he's kind of Cool Herc.
This guy, Cool Herc, Cool Herc, cool. I mean,
Okay.
Cool Herc. Okay, no, go ahead.
I don't know. Who else would you put on there? I mean,
you can't make up this list for him. Let him make
up his list.
I was just saying my own list.
So then the other thing, I think that Run DMC and Aerosmith get way too much credit for inventing rap rock and that crossover. When Flavor Flav and Anthrax were playing that tune 2 years before that.
Yeah.
If you go look, like, Scott Ian,
I know Scott.
he was a big fan of Public Enemy, and they ended up in the same recording studio in New York, and the rest is history. But and that, like, everything that was Korn and Limp Bizkit and all that stuff, they skipped over 10 years to go back to what Flavor Flav and Anthrax did, but they did it first.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check that
It just
out.
wasn't Run DMC popularized. They commercialized it basically. That's why.
But they were so I can't think of anybody before they came along. When you say crossover, it wasn't like crossover into rock or anything. They crossed over into business.
Right.
It's like, here is my Adidas line.
Yep.
Here is the hat I'm gonna wear, and
Chain,
I'm gonna make money
hats.
when you go buy one of these. And all of a sudden, I think artists stopped looking at, I'm gonna sell my album and I'm gonna make 18 cents, which is what artists back then made when they sold a $7 album.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're gonna buy my record, you're gonna buy my sneakers, you're gonna buy my hat, you're gonna buy
everything.
And that, so I mean, you have to kind of put them up on the mountain. I don't even think before Run DMC, I'm not even sure there was rock artists that were in the business world the way they were.
No, they weren't. Not that I can think of at that time. Right?
Yeah.
I remember.
Probably was like uncool to do that before that.
Yeah, I don't look at that. And then for some reason, I think my guilty pleasure in this is still freaking Eminem.
Okay.
Like,
He's dope, man. He's dope.
Yeah.
So he's dope. I've seen him like twice.
So I kind of look like when I listen to him, I do kind of think of Frank Zappa, and I'm like, okay, he can make fun of himself. He can make fun of you and get you laughing while he's doing it, and you're gonna be like, wow, damn, that's funny. It's also true.
Yeah, but it's spitting fire
and
too.
It's hard.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's hard. Yeah.
And he's spitting fire. You know what I mean?
We got Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5.
Yeah.
Run DMC. We got Slim Shady. Do we have another act for the?
Yeah, I'd say Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav. Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen them also. They were dope too.
Cool. Nice.
They were dope. They were real. They came like the old Arco.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get next to them because they were like, they had the guy walking through the crowd. They were walking through the crowd like you were doing there. And they were doing the dance and everything. You know the whole thing, turn around like kind of. It's pretty cool. It's dope. It's dope, man.
That's cool. Were you into the hip hop scene when you were growing up out in New York?
With the exception of Grandmaster Flash, no. And I knew that Run DMC existed, but I really didn't come up with a respect for them until I was long gone and into the music scene.
For sure.
You know, and then I kind of looked at them and I'm like, everybody at my grammar school was wearing Adidas. Like, holy crap.
They
did that. You know? It was like, wow.
Even if you didn't know why you wanted Adidas, they were.
Stay tuned for more with Brendan Davis after this.